Are we ready? Okay, we're live. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of SEO from home. Again, from home. We still haven't left our homes. Adam actually is in a hotel room, so he's a little bit luckier than I at the moment. So, Adam, how are you? How's vacation?
Great, coming to you live from Hamilton Island in Queensland. So if anyone knows where I am, hello. Having a
Yes.
great time here.
Big thank you to Adam for putting the Mai Tai down and coming to talk to us about SEO tonight. So, for everyone's knowledge, we have been sending you a bunch of stuff this month about how to do your own SEO audit, how to take care of your own SEO, how to figure out what's going wrong with just technical stuff, but also from a content perspective, from a backlink perspective. So, we thought that this month we'd do something a little bit different and actually dissect a couple of your sites. Now, for anybody that's panicking that we're just going to randomly pick your site, these are sites that have been pre-submitted by people who agreed to have this done. So don't worry, we're not going to like completely blindside you and just audit your site for everyone to see. These are two sites that were pre-submitted that agreed to have us really kind of nitpick their site in front of everyone.
Yeah.
So thank you to the volunteers. If we didn't pick your site, I'm sorry. Like there was so many good submissions, but there's only, so much time. And as much as I know you guys want to hear us talk for 5 hours, I know a lot of you have other things to do, and Adam's got to get back to vacation.
That's
So,
right.
without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So, Adam's going to share his screen. Everybody that's
Okay.
watching, if you have questions throughout the audit, if you have questions about anything you're seeing, just put them into the comment box. I will be moderating, one of the two. So if you have a question that you want us to answer while we're doing it, then that's perfect, and we can go ahead and tackle it in the moment. Also, so just a little disclaimer, this is best practices. It's not ever guaranteed to get you to the number one spot in Google. This is just what we know to have worked in the
Yeah.
past for other websites and what Google is looking for. But have to do the little disclaimer for you. Might not be going to be like the best thing ever for your website, but it is best practices, right? Adam can elaborate a little bit on that. So again,
Yeah.
without further ado, let's go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Hopefully everyone can see that. If you can just put in the comment box that you can see it. Looking for my little WooRank sidekicks here to just let me know in the comments that you can see Adam's screen. All
I've just
right.
zoomed in a little bit as well, just because I've got doing it on my laptop. So hopefully that's a good size for everyone watching. You definitely need to go full screen probably to be able to read it. Yeah. So the way I want to approach this is pretty much like I kind of do these sorts of audits with clients a lot and in person too. And I wanted to really take you guys through the audit more from an educational point of view, so that even though this, for most of you, this is not going to be your website. There's only one person out there that owns this website. They're going to get direct, information about it. But the rest of you, you can see sort of what I'm looking at, what I'm picking, how I'm double checking things, because you'll then be able to apply that same process to your website and your WooRank review. And we're going to do two. So as you can see, I've picked one here that actually has a really high score, and that's intentional. And I've got another one here that has a low score, which is also, that's way too big, very intentional. And they're interesting because both websites have pluses and cons. And what I hope that you'll get out of tonight's webinar is how to use WooRank more effectively, and which bits do you fix on your website first. So let's start with this one. So this is I'll just show you the website first. This is
And
the
just
West End Gallery.
FYI, Adam, I can't even believe that he woke up so early, but we do have Matthew actually watching today.
Ah,
So I think
oh,
it might be
fantastic.
like 4 a.m. for him, maybe even earlier. So Matthew, thank you for coming. If you have any live questions, feel free to shoot them into the comment section. All right, Adam, back to you.
Absolutely. And I do have your pre-submitted questions, so I will definitely try and get around to answering those as well. So this website, it's actually a really good example in a lot of ways. well, it's definitely, look, I literally had a couple of hundred websites that I was sort of looking at, and obviously I've picked the ones that are gonna, I guess, work the best from an educational point of view. And I like this one because it does a lot of things like really well. However, it's still not getting the rankings that I would say that it deserves, and that's really what we're going to explore this morning for you guys. So let's start with the audit page in WooRank. So you should all be familiar with this, and I'm just going to I'm going to start from the top and work my way down. I'm even going to look at the things that are right. Again, on your review, these may not be right. This is obviously only applies to this particular website. So if we look at the title tag, and there's a reason why the title tag's first. It's not that this whole review is structured this way, but the title tag is actually very important. When Google goes to the website to crawl and to start trying to figure out, what's this website about, so it can match it with a relevant search, the title tag of the page really gives away, everything, just like the title on the cover of a book. And that's often how I kind of look at it, is that's the title of the book, and the meta description, it's kind of like the blurb on the back of the book. And they're the two things that most people read before they open the book, pick a random page, read it, and decide that they're going to buy the book. Or in a website's frame, it would be, I like the title, I like the description, let's dig a little bit deeper, and then actually get into sort of user experience and that kind of thing. But let's stick on the SEO side. So the title tag is great. It says what it needs to say, and it also includes a location. Now, even though this is correct, what WooRank is telling you is that yes, your title tag has passed. It's a tick. It meets all the requirements set out by Google and by all the standards, and it's a pass. But what I would say as a human looking at this, and that's really the key, is that Google is trying to ultimately SEO for humans rather than for Google itself. One thing that I would maybe suggest here is putting a little bit more details about the geography. Look, Google will know where you are by looking at other parts of your website and content like the footer and stuff. But sometimes it's good to not presume that everyone Googling or searching for your website will actually be like local, or will actually know that Edmonton and Victoria are referring to Canada. For example, we have a Victoria here in Australia. We also have an Edmonton as a town. It's just good that maybe if you actually had Canada here, just to enhance that title tag. So that's just a small thing. And these will circle back to some of your questions that you sort of submitted about, why you weren't ranking for some keywords when others you were. The meta description, move straight onto that. It's great. The thing I like about it the most, of course, is that it fits within the, I'll show you down here. It fits within a desktop view and the mobile version. And this is really, really important. So the fact that it's not concatenated, so it doesn't have the 3 dots. You can read the whole thing, and you can see it on your mobile. It's very, very clear. And ultimately, again, it says exactly what it does. A family-owned and operated art gallery specializing in Canadian wall art, sculpture, and blown glass. Like, it's really, really clear what this website's going to give you, and this is great for Google, and it's great for user experience. So this is fantastic. If we move on to the headings, this is where we start to get, a little bit more technical, and also where I see some opportunities again that headings are really important. These top 2 to 3 issues are the go-to issues for any SEO guy. It's the first things that we usually look at. First of all, the heading 1, the most important piece of content that you can write on your page. So at the moment, it's quite long. So we can help you give any room a finish, and so if we go actually find that, it's this here. So that's your heading 1. So after the title, after the meta description, you're telling Google that this is I guess, let's call this the chapter. This is the name of the chapter if we were talking about a book. Generally, I advise to keep chapter titles, or H1s, a bit shorter, a bit more to the point. And then we would use the H2 to elaborate on that. Just if you're doing like a Word document, you would have a simple title, simple heading 1, and then you would have more detail on the heading 2. So again, even though it is technically a pass, sorry, go back to the right one, it is technically a pass to have this, there's still little ways that we can squeeze out some more optimization from the website just by making very slight changes. And the most important thing is, do you have a keyword in your H1? And so if we look at it, we can help you give any room a finished look today. Well, I would say, if you were to go to someone on the street and say, hey, we can help you give any room a finished look today, do they know what you're talking about? Because, that could be anything from painting the walls to art. Exactly. So it's a little bit kind of obscure as to what it is that you're selling, and Google is trying to figure out as it reads through all these things, just as a people, and that's the really important aspect to keep reminding you, is that this is the first thing that people are going to read, especially on a mobile view. When you think, well, this website looks on a mobile, this is going to be really big, and it's going to take up a lot of space at the top of the mobile page. So I know I'm focusing a lot, and I'm picking at quite low level detail, but that's really what I want to try and sort of show you guys is important. It's not just ticking boxes. You've really got to start thinking about how will someone use my website? How will they feel when they come to it? What will the information will they get? Is it a good user experience? Because I can guarantee you that's what Google is spending, all its many millions and billions of dollars improving its algorithm, is to give you searches that match your interest and your intent. So this would be a great one to just have a play with. And
Adam, just so you know, Matt commented in the chat that he was actually trying to target wall art. That was the keyword that he was really trying to focus on there.
Okay, so wall art. Okay, so he's got that in the heading 2. So if we just go down, yep, so add any character, let's just have a look. Yeah, so that line there looks like the heading 2. I'll just confirm that. So I'm just going to inspect it. So the key word there, the target word that you're sort of trying to target, get Google to recognize, is in the H2, which is great. That's actually a perfect H2. But what we really need is for that H1 to be a little bit shorter. And again, if you could summarize wall art with maybe 1 or 2 other words, that would be perfect. And the great thing about a website too is it's not printed material. You can change it. So you could make this change. You could watch what happens to your rankings in WooRank and in Google Analytics over time. And if you see an improvement, you've done the right thing. And if you don't, well, that's part of SEO. It's that sort of trial and error. But I'll talk a bit more about that sort of keyword tracking when we get to the end of this report. Okay, so the headings look pretty good. When it comes to H1s, I would generally have just one H1. You can have multiples, but you just need to make sure that you're not duplicating them, that they are very much saying different things. The H2s, 23 is kind of, there is a lot of double up. The best way to explain what would happen here in Google's point of view would be, this is sort of a lot of people have different opinions about headings, but in my experience, the more headings that you have on a page, the less power each of those headings give to Google, because it's almost like you're trying to spam it. You're trying to put in all of these keywords into headings. So sometimes what we'll find, and I'll just close this page here, is even though these headings may be, for example, there, appropriate, you may have picked that heading because the size of that text, it looks perfect, it looks great. But in actual fact, it would be better if that heading 2 was not a heading 2. If that was just maybe bold text or normal text, that can be a heading 2, that's fine. But to have all these as heading 2s as well, it's probably not really the best thing. And again, that's something you can experiment with. If you've got access to the code of the website, you can change those from heading 2s to something else. You can still style them to look the same, and then you can see what happens, with your results over time. So we'll move along to the next section. So this is probably my favorite section, and it's something I mentioned earlier with the meta description. Content analysis. The best way to explain how this works is, excuse me, we're scraping the content from the homepage of your website, and we're looking at the keywords that have been repeated. Why are we doing that? Is because that's how Google, and a lot more complicated, but that's how Google sort of tries to understand what your content's actually talking about. For example, I often call these the ingredient keywords. If you were making a cake, think of these keywords as ingredients to the cake. Flour, chocolate, eggs, sugar, that type of thing. All these ingredients come together to form, an overall content analysis, which Google then uses to understand what your website's about. So once again, the litmus test for this is, if you were to give these keywords to someone that didn't know you from, I don't know if this is an Australian saying, but didn't know you from a bar of soap, could they figure out what you did for a living? If you went up to them and said, West End Gallery, Annabelle Marquis, Paul Jorgensen, Canadian Painters, wall art, free shipping. Yeah, so far, even though I don't know much about wall art, I am getting the sense that of what you do. Blown glass, that's a great keyword there because that's very specific. Exhibitions, new arrivals. I'm going to assume that these, the names, Paul Jorgensen, Annabelle Marquis, and I'm sorry if I'm really messing up the pronunciation of those with my Australian accent, but I'm assuming they're the artists. So I've got a pretty good idea of what your homepage is about. However, when you've mentioned that wall art is the target keyword, it's not there. And what we have to then look at is, does Google understand that these other keywords, do they relate to wall art? Because if they don't, then we can't expect Google to appreciate that your page is about wall art. So we've got it here, wall art, but what are the other keywords about wall art? Perhaps using wall art in different ways of spelling it, like wall-art. Things like that. They're things that you can play around with the content, and then you can track your keywords using the keyword tool and actually see over time what happens. And what you'll notice is, once you've made changes to your content and Google has recrawled it does not take long for you to see changes in your rankings. It's actually really fast. Okay, so I don't want to get too stuck. I want to move along. So alt attributes, perfect. There's none missing, so we're making the most out of that. 2 reasons. One, alt attribute is, yes, we can put keywords in and Google understands that, but really this is more about usability and user experience. So if a screen reader was reading your website out to someone that had a visual impairment or couldn't read the content, they would understand what the pictures were. So in-page links, great. It's got a, as I would kind of, I go like an 80 to 20 kind of ratio. This is something that a lot of people don't understand, is with the external links. It's fine to have external links. It's actually, as long as they make sense, it's fine to have external links. However, what we can see here is that a lot of your links have no anchor text, and they literally come up as no anchor text. So what that means is that that link has no flavor. It's sending someone somewhere, but you're not giving Google that sort of preemptive cursor about what it's actually going to see when it gets there, i.e. your Twitter page. i.e. that one should say Facebook rather than no anchor text. So these are little things that you could fix quite easily. If they're the plugins and that kind of thing on your page, they can be a little bit trickier to fix, but normally the plugins are pretty good. So it'll be these over here, I'm assuming. Yeah, so that image literally, the code that's behind these icons is what's actually showing up there as no anchor text. So remember, Google will come along and it can't see the bird. It doesn't know that's Twitter like I know it's Twitter. So whoops, that's the wrong one. Giving that the appropriate anchor text really makes a huge difference. These ones are all great. They're single keywords and they say exactly what they should say. This is the artwork page. This is the events page. This is a mailing list. So this is really, really good use of internal links here. And also when I said about the ratio before, just the ratio of internal links to external links. Now you can make them no follow if you like. At the moment they're follow links. And again, look, that's fine. It's up to you. You can experiment. You can make them all no follow if you like. But what I will tell you is that people can be overprotective about their external links. If it makes sense to have a link going somewhere and you kind of want people to get more information from that link, leave it as follow. If it's more of like a reference, but you don't really want to sort of, give that website too much attention, then you would change it to a no follow. That's kind of how I would work that. Language, so as you can see, like this report, everything's green. Language is green. You've declared what the language of the website's been presented in, which is fantastic. No URL feeds, that's just informational. This is a big one. Do all your URLs resolve? Yes, they do. And I'll show you more sort of how this doesn't work on the second website, but this is set up perfectly. That's if you had problems here, that's usually you go to your host, or if you're using WordPress, you would go inside the settings of WordPress to fix that. Robots, perfect. XML sitemap, all perfect. In fact, even the sitemaps down to the validity of all of them, perfect. So really good job here. These little things add up. You would be surprised how important these things are. And you only need to look at our index, which I should just say, oh, no, it's not on there. I'll load that up on another page, but you only need to look at our index to see just how important things like sitemaps are. Yeah, that's a big one. No broken links, perfect. So that means all of your links on your page go somewhere that works, and that's internal as well as external. It's just as bad to be pointing to a website that doesn't exist as it is to a web page that doesn't exist. So this is something you always keep an eye on. So this is perfect. No underscores, well done. A lot of plugins and stuff will use underscores, like these little things here. These guys can be a little bit distracting for Google because they tend to relate to code and other items. So it's just best to avoid them if you can. However, if your site's riddled with them, don't just go out and change them all, because you need to think about how they're used, where they're used, and what are linking to them. But it doesn't have this problem, which is fantastic. Heaps of content, over 28,500 pages. This is fantastic. That's a lot of content, and the website's been around for a decent amount of time. So you would expect this to have built up. Now that may not be the exact number of pages that you have. Don't worry about that. As long as it's in the ballpark area, and remember, it's your indexable public pages. So you might have another 200 pages that are set to private, and they won't show up. So this is all good. Mobile friendliness, can't get any better than that. It works, pretty much just as good on a, well, it does. It works just as good on a mobile as it does on the screen itself. So good job there. Tap targets, plugins, everything is green, green, green across the board. Schema, and again, I'm going to probably pick on these with the other website because the ones that sort of get a red, then I can actually sort of show you where they go wrong. But the most important thing about Open Graph Protocol and Twitter cards, which does need some optimization here, is, and this, a lot of people kind of misunderstand this, but they go, oh, I don't use Twitter. And you do, but some people will say, I don't use Twitter, so I don't need to have a Twitter card. Well, that's the wrong way to think about it. It's, do you expect anyone to share your website, your content on their Twitter account? Like if I was to go, I really like this picture and I want to share this on Twitter, the Twitter card actually helps you control the information that's going to be shared on Twitter. So it's not whether or not you use Twitter yourself, it's about everyone else is using it. And that's why we include it. So Open Graph, obviously that's the Facebook. One thing to mention is Twitter will revert to Open Graph if it can't get enough information from the Twitter card. But yeah, it's always best to give these guys what they're looking for in their own formats, because Twitter, Facebook are all their own separate businesses until they buy each other out anyway. So all you need to do is basically add, you've got a Twitter card, you just need some extra pieces of information added to it. If that's a plugin in WordPress, that should be pretty straightforward. If not, that's something I could maybe talk to you about with a follow-up consult or something like that. We could go into the details there. So really important to get the Twitter and the Open Graph Protocol. We start moving down to security. I'm going to say, look, overall, your security is actually really, really good. DMARC is a very, very specific one. And again, I would go into discussing how to fix it sort of on a one-to-one basis. But the most important thing to see here is SSL secure, which it is. Now, it does say it is expiring in a month. So there's, Google will actually check two things. One, to see how long your domain name is registered for, and also your SSL certificate. So if it sees that your SSL certificate is about to expire, if it sees that maybe your domain name is also set to expire in the next, couple of months or year, it could get less certain that your website is around for the long haul. So that's why we flag that. It's actually better if Google can say, oh, your SSL is secure for the next 12 months, great, and the domain has been registered for 10 years. This website's not going anywhere. So that would be a little improvement you can make there. All this stuff is great. So server performance is really good. Everything's being minified, everything being compressed, all your assets. One piece of work we could do here is to look at a caching. So you could either look at getting that done on the server end or on the website end, depending on the type of website you're using. So if it was like WordPress, there's a plugin we can use. We've also, in previous webinars, we've mentioned caching and that sort of thing a fair bit. So this is definitely an improvement, but it's only one asset. So it's not a huge thing. It's one piece of JavaScript that handles your currencies. And it's one aspect of it that could be improved. So it's really low level, but if you look at this section, you've got 2 out of 3, and like Meatloaf said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So if we look at go down past all this stuff, everything's great. Your domain, this is the other one I wanted to mention. This could be making Google a little bit sort of dubious about if you're around for the long haul. Your website expires in a year. Now, you could go and register that, for the next 10 years for probably like $100 or something. It's really cheap to register it for a long time, and I would advise doing that because Google does look at that. Okay, so go down to here, backlinks. Now, this is probably where we get a lot of questions about backlinks, and they're very understandable because, someone with a score of, you think, well, 2,000 backlinks, that's fantastic. 2,000 backlinks is good, but what we're kind of saying up here of the score is that it's not just the volume of the backlinks, it's a combination of how many backlinks you've got, but also where are they coming from? What's the quality overall of where all these backlinks are coming from? And with a score of good, that's great. That's good. Great's the next one up. But if we were to look at perhaps pruning or even changing some of those backlinks, perhaps finding out if the backlinks have decent anchor text, or are you just getting links to your pictures from an anchor text that says click here to see a painting from this artist. That's not as great as the artist's name being the hyperlink. So there's some optimization that we could do to squeeze out some more to get that score up. With 2,000 links though, you're in a good place. Like that's a job well done, and also spread across over 300 domains. So another good ratio there. You're looking at about sort of 15 links from each domain kind of thing, if I'm doing my math right. At 50, yeah. All right, and we can see here we've just got a bunch of links that we've pulled from your site, and we've just marking them as yes, they are. That one is a good quality. That one is a good quality, and then kind of ones like this could use a little work. So you could actually use this, click on that, have a look at the website, have a look where your actual link is, and make some changes. At the moment, it says West End Gallery. Again, that's something that I mentioned with your title. You could make that a lot more informative. So we'll go down the list. Now, traffic estimations are low, but disclaimer here, for I think more privacy reasons, I have not hooked WooRank into your analytics account. So this will not be picking up, the correct everything about your website, and that's for privacy reasons. I don't want to be risking any of your private information on this webinar. But even still, we do get an estimate from Alexa to see what your traffic is like. And while your traffic is low, and this is something that I'd want to look at, it's something that you need to put into context with your industry and, your type of website is more of I guess, it could be considered more niche than, say, a website selling phones, which you would expect a lot more traffic. So this is something that, yes, we definitely need to improve, but I can't give you like a ballpark figure. I can't say, look, the golden number is 500 hits a day. Traffic is very relative to your industry and to your competitors, and have a look at what they're getting. And again, this is something that I could chat to you in detail with a one-on-one consult, for sure. So moving down, we're just having a look at your local presence. Have found some local directory listing here. No reviews. They're the hardest thing in the world to get, don't worry. I know all about that. We haven't picked up your Google Business Profile review, but I do believe you have one. So I'm going to address that at the end when I've got your questions. Social media engagement, we've picked up your Facebook, so this is looking good. You're getting shares, you're getting likes, you're getting comments. Your Twitter account, it's got a nice picture. It's set up correctly. You've got a lot of followers, which is great. And you're definitely small tweaks than I've got. So you're definitely you're actively using the account, which is fantastic. And again, Instagram all set up. So your social's really strong. And all in all, this is why we scored an 82. And that's a really, really good score. So now we can start looking at how do we get more out of it, besides the things that we've just sort of mentioned. So one thing I'll just quickly pull up your questions. Okay, so the first one you had was in regards to keyword ranking on your landing pages in relation to your competitors. Yeah. This is actually connected to your second question, which was what is keyword cannibalism? Because and I thought it was funny that you actually asked both of those questions because they are actually related. So first of all, let's start with keyword cannibalization because that's easier. That's where you accidentally target the same keyword on multiple pages of a website. And what I mean by that is, for example, wall art. You're saying that you want to target that search term on this page. Well, what we might find is that actually, for example, wall art might be mentioned on 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages, or even worse, you might even have wall art in your footer somewhere, showing up on every single page. I'm just checking to see if you do. You don't? I don't. No, it's good. And that's often one of the big mistakes, because as soon as you do that, you're falling into keyword cannibalization. And the effect of keyword cannibalization is that when someone is doing a keyword search, let's say for wall art, if your website is to show up, I would generally be happy if I saw your homepage or if you had a blog about wall art. Now, if I saw some sort of weird page, not weird page, but let's say an events page that was back from maybe a couple of years ago, where you had a post from 2017 and you're talking about wall art, if that result showed up as number one in Google above your homepage or above your wall art page, that's a classic example of that keyword cannibalization occurring, where basically Google gets a little bit confused and it's like, well, I see this keyword on lots of pages, I'm going to show this page first. So those two questions together, that's really how you fix it, is what I kind of refer to as being a lot more strict with your use of keywords and being really careful with what you type onto a page. And also never typing in something you don't want to be shown up for. And I think I've mentioned that in other webinars. So for example, if you inspirational wall art, if you were to say viewer custom mockups, if this was in the negative, we don't offer mockups, you wouldn't actually want to say that, because you then actually still show up for mockups. So you haven't done that, and it's just, you've got to be really careful at every word that you put on your page, because remember, Google is using its NLP algorithm to go through all the words, all the keywords, the titles, the headings, to try and figure out what you're selling. So that would be why you'd be seeing some, I guess, odd results with certain keywords showing up on the homepage and others just not showing up whatsoever. But yeah, these things are really easily improved, especially when you're working from a good base, which you are. Okay, so high impressions but low click rate. How do you improve that? Probably going to get tired of me saying this, but again, that's going to come down to some discipline in using your keywords. Try to go for one page is targeting one search term. The homepage is the exception, because your homepage you often mention different things. But for example, if we were to click on Guy Roy, I hope I'm not messing that name up.
I think that one's probably pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I was hoping that was the safest one, I was thinking.
Yeah.
But anything that's in French, I'm just avoiding, because I would not better say that. Not an Australian. So this Guy Roy page, this is good. It's set up really well. To improve the ranking of this page without cannibalizing your keywords, what I would recommend is in this first paragraph, the first 3 paragraphs, is you should actually have a link that goes to a relative blog, a relative press release, or another page even that you've got on your website that makes sense, have some internal linking. Now that will then increase the value of this Guy Roy page. And so if someone types in Guy Roy, hopefully this page shows up, because ideally that means whoever types that in, Guy Roy artwork, they know what they're looking for. And if your page alludes to that, Google is going to show it up as the first listing instead of the homepage. And that's what you'd actually want, is your landing page to show up for your keyword. So especially when you have a lot of pictures on a page, you can often not have words. And I like the fact that you've actually put these in at the top. So I'm not sure if you've always had that or you've had advice to do that, but that's spot on. But you can definitely improve upon that with some internal links. And the other place you can also put text on these sorts of pages is right at the bottom, because even though, say right down here above the footer, you could have a paragraph or 2 about Guy Roy, something that maybe is not important enough to have right at the top, but you might want to move some of that down. So again, you can play with this and you can do some testing to get some more oomph from these landing pages. You're really working with the content at this stage. So Google Business Page, how does it affect SEO? If you go to Twitter and you stalk some of the Google guys, you'll see some really strange answers about Google My Business and SEO. My experience tells me that it absolutely helps from a local point of view, and that's where it's meant to kick in. But I'm thinking, maybe you're thinking, how much does it affect you overall? It is important. It's a Google service. It's a Google product. You definitely want to engage with it and get reviews on it. It would come down to really being, at the end of the day, it's going to affect people who are closer to you than the international clients or even national clients. It's not going to affect the SEO as much, but it will absolutely affect huge amounts people that are closer to you. So that's really I guess the medium length answer for that one. How do you identify keywords that will improve your ranking? And this actually links up with your last question, which is there a better way to display the products on your website so Google picks it up? Okay, how do you identify the keywords that would improve your ranking? Again, there's going to be some trial and error here, but let's actually go back to Guy Roy. So what keywords would help improve that? Well, the first thing I would do is I would go to Google and I would type in Guy Roy, and I would actually start looking at the top pages that show up for that result. Now, just remember, I'm getting a personalized result here. I'm logged in as me. I'm in Hamilton Island. I'm getting a very, very different, in all likelihood, result to what you guys would get. But I'm still getting results that are based on the strength of that search. So the sorts of keywords that you'd be wanting to use would actually appear on these pages. And what better than, if that's his correct, public Guy Roy, looks good. If that's his public Facebook page, is to start having a look at the keywords that he uses. As you can see, I'm not logged into Facebook. Because the more keywords that you use that are related to Guy Roy, the stronger this page will become. It's not looking for any sort of secret keywords or specific ones that I can give you, as off a rule sheet. It's really looking at what are the words, what are the ingredients to other Guy Roy ranking pages that you could actually bring across to your website. And that's not stealing, that's just borrowing keywords, looking at keywords that are in use and using them on your page. And it's really as simple as that. It's hard to explain without really taking a lot more time than we have to go into the details. But I want to touch on, because that leads into your last question about, is there a better way to display your products? The first one is yes, not to use the H tags like you have here, because Google is seeing this as H tag spamming, overboard. So that would be one. And then when we get to this page, and I'm just going to inspect, show you. So this is good. The H1 is Guy Roy. The title tag is Guy Roy, which is great. You've even got it in your URL, which is a bonus. That's not absolutely necessary. That's a bonus. But you've also got it as your first keyword. That's perfect. Like, you couldn't really improve the way that you've sort of structured that if you tried, other than doing some of the other things that I mentioned, like having maybe Guy Roy links to another page about Guy Roy, or he discovered painting, and then that links to an article about how he discovered painting, that kind of thing. So all in all, this site is really, really, really well done. And if I was working with you one-on-one, I'd be looking at a lot of, micro changes, but over weeks and weeks and weeks, so that you can make these changes, see what the results are on Google, and then either revert them or continue to make further changes. It really is, it's a great website. You've got all the right elements in place, and with some fine tuning now, I don't see why you can't rank, first page for most of these keywords, especially because it is comparatively quite niche. So yeah, job well done on that website.
Perfect. Well, let's give you a little speaking break. Grab a glass of water before we jump into the next one. I recognize that this webinar is a little bit longer than the ones that we have done before, but you guys are being so nice to us in the comments. I can't even believe it. You're being so nice. Everyone's really thanking you for your expertise and your knowledge here, Adam. And there are quite a few questions more specifically about people's individual websites, which I really would love to tackle each and every one of them. I don't know that we have the time, because we do have another website to cover. So my suggestion is that I take the questions that have been asked, we answer them, and post it on our blog with the recap of the video. Hopefully everyone's okay with that. I'm cognizant of time, but I also do want everyone to get the most out of this as they possibly can. And if you need an immediate answer, you have my email address. I've posted it in the comments like 5 times now, I think. So if you need an immediate answer about one of your questions, then please go ahead and let me know. Courtney@WooRank.com. Now, perfect. The next website that we're going to go over comes from one of our users, Jack. And his website is Moscovita Photography. Now, as Adam will explain, this website, although visually, very appealing right here, all the colors, it's really pretty. There's some technical things that he needs to address somewhat soon. So this is going to be somewhat of a different type of audit, whereas Matt's website was technically very proficient, but could be optimized better. This is one that we need to kind of get down and dirty and fix some of the more technical elements. So Adam, I'll go ahead and let you take over again. Sorry, I know you've been talking like for an hour straight. Usually it's me just like, bah, 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 bah. So I'm going to go ahead and let you take over, and I'll shut up.
Thank you. No, that's fine. Yeah, that's a good way to sort of describe what's happening here. And that's why I picked these two websites, is because, the first website is technically, it's pretty much spot on. It's just got some optimization, some tweaking and some managing to get more out of it. Whereas this website is kind of at the other end of the scale where, there's actually a lot of opportunities for us to make improvements technically to the site before we even worry about content. I kind of liken this to, building a house. You got to get the house built before you put the furniture in. And this is very much, we're looking at the foundations of this house, of this website. So it scored a 38, which is, not a great score. There have been worse. It's not the worst score in the world.
Yeah,
But
I always
I
like to
also,
say, like, sorry to just jump in. I like to say that
yeah,
it don't get discouraged by that number, because the
no,
lower it is, usually the faster you can improve it. It's when you get to like the 60s and
yeah,
70s that you tend to plateau for a long time. So see this as a challenge rather than a hindrance, I guess.
absolutely. Yeah, it's actually an SEO guy's dream is for a client to come in with a 38, because it's like, oh man, I can get that to 68 in the next 2 weeks. That's going to be great. So let's go through. Let's have a look. Title tag, great. You're saying what you are, what you're doing. That's great. As I've explained with the other website, optimizations that you might want to consider there, but that's rearranging the furniture. And right now, we need to look at the structure of the house. We've got some bigger issues like, boom, meta description. It's just, it's high impact, very easy to solve, and it's missing. So you got to get right in there, and you've got to add a meta description. Now, I know that I think this website is actually built, actually been around for a long time, and I don't believe it has a very sort of pliable CMS system. So if I was auditing with this in person with you, it might lead to a conversation about, have you considered, do you want to consider rebuilding this website on a CMS, on a content management system? And there's plenty of ways that you could do that, yourself, which would then give you the tools to make this site more pliable for you over time, perform better. But it's not absolutely necessary. If you've got the access to the code, you can go in and put a meta description in. Headings, it's actually fine. You're just focusing on, you've got what you do, and that's why we're giving it a tick. You don't have any heading 2s, 3s, 4s. This is something we could optimize, but again, I really want to skip the greens in this website, because we've got some bigger issues that we can fix really quickly. Again, language, it has been detected. So look, Google's not silly. It's going to figure this stuff out, but we know for a fact that Google looks for a declaration of language. So why would you not give it what it's looking for? Give the Google what it wants. It's a crying baby. Give it what it wants. You just
I
make
know.
life.
Unfortunately, we're just like at the mercy of whatever Google wants us to do. But if you wanna reap the rewards, you got to play the game.
Exactly, you do, and it's that is one of the big ones that comes up a lot, and it's easier to fix. Very, very easier to solve. URL resolve. Now, I mentioned this on the other website that was perfect. So this one kind of has a lot of issues. Essentially, what's happening is this website shows up with multiple URLs. So I can load this site up with HTTP, with HTTP www. And also the secure versions. So you are the proud owner of 4 websites, not 1, but 4. And unfortunately, all 4 of them have the exact same content. And, I think just about everyone knows that Google doesn't like duplicate content. So that's what's pretty much happening here, is due to the way your server is set up, it is not resolving. And this is actually a really easy fix. And again, high impact. This is probably, if I was to get you to do one thing like tomorrow, it would be that one. I kid you not, that is a big problem. It is technical. And you know what you can do? If you've got, just log into your WooRank account and take a screenshot of that error and send it to your hosting provider and say, how do we fix this? Because, that's a big one. Robots text file missing, XML sitemap missing. Again, these are big issues because these are the way that Google will index your site if it can't find any internal links between the pages. So for example, if we click and we load a page, and it's a very, very image-based website. There's not a lot of other hyperlinks to bring that content together. So Google's relying on the fact that you have an XML sitemap to tell it, hey, I've actually got all this content here, and we're not doing that. So this is, again, easy to fix and big impact on the website. So I'd be getting these ones fix up quick, smart. No broken links, which is fantastic. There are underscores in the URLs, and this is, again, why I picked this site. I wanted one that had underscores and didn't. This is something that I would fix later. I would focus on the other stuff first, and I would come back to this one. If you were the Titanic, let's get the lifeboats out before we worry about getting the people in them. I'm trying to think of ways to,
I love that analogy, but it really does make sense, because there's even just some debate in the industry whether or not underscores in the URLs is really that big of a deal. So that's also just a quick marketing plug. That's also why we have the filtering system that is so important.
Yeah.
You can very easily see what is going to be the highest impact on your overall SEO. So like Adam said, get in the lifeboat. Let's figure out what needs to be saved first, and then we can worry about the broken china and the wet bed sheets,
Exactly, and that's why we've got it as a low impact item. And look, it's a little bit hard to solve, so let's come back to that. And again, just in case you were wondering too, we've got the filters down here, so we can actually bring up all the high impact items straight to the top, just using the filter, which is actually really handy. So if you haven't seen that. So if we go down the page, after sitemap and underscores, there's actually nearly 1,500 pages found. I suspect there's more, but they're not showing because there's no index. So only the pages that Google has crawled manually, it's showing. It could be a magnitude different. I don't know. It's an old website. It's been there for a long time. Could easily have 10,000 pages. That's the problem. We don't know, and we can't rely on that score. So you could be missing out there. Well done. It is optimized. So it's working, just fine on a mobile website, which is super important. And you've got it looks like, you've had someone come in recently and fix all that stuff up. So that's great. But structured data, a lot of people get scared away by this stuff. We actually mark this as easy to solve because it really is. We can get greens across the board here on these three things by essentially, we've got some of our own guides on the WooRank website on how to fix these, but it's just going and generating these schema codes and putting the codes onto your website, into the header of your website. Really, really easy to fix and huge impact. This whole section, the fact that it's all red is just screaming out to be fixed. And it's, again, easy to solve and high impact. Security, not bad. We got the SSL certificate that you're using. The only issue really is that while you do have a secure page, I can also load up your unsecure page. So you don't have that redirect. So it's kind of like, if I was a hacker, I don't have to use your secure front page because you've got an unsecure version just sitting there waiting for me to come along. Doing some mixed content, and you really don't want that. So this needs to be sorted out. Technically, you do, yes, have an SSL certificate, but asset compression and cacheability, common issues with photography type websites. While there is some caching going on, it just hasn't got an expiration time set. Again, this is something, take a screenshot, show to your developer or to your host and get some ideas from them on how to fix. These are sort of quite medium hard to fix, and also medium with the return on the investment there. Going down, no analytics detected. Yeah, I even checked that myself. I don't see any correct analytics code. Probably the second thing that I would fix after the URLs, responding, would be to install analytics. Even if you never want to use analytics, install it anyway, because Google wants that data about your website. It's a double-edged sword. You're giving Google access to that data so it can correctly interpret how important your website is. So get that installed, and it doesn't cost anything. It's really, really easy to do. Move down, custom 404 pages. So this is like if someone comes to your website and they go to the wrong page. We don't have a graceful sort of page that says, hey, are you looking for Adam? Maybe you should go back to this website. Or we're not handling that error. That very easy to fix, 404s, and again, you're going to get lots of impact out of that. Now with the backlinks, this is actually a good comparison to the other one, is you've got lots of backlinks, over 1,000. Now, again, I dare say that count is not correct due to some of the issues I've talked about. I think that might be 4 to 5 times higher, and you're not getting the credit for it. Because I think some of your backlinks would be going to the secure version of your website, and some would be going to the insecure version of your website. Sorry, unsecure. Your website is not insecure.
Well, we don't know.
we don't know, but we're not judging. It might be after this review. I don't know. No. But that's why we're giving it a fair score, because it could be well out of order there. The fact also that there's only 70 domains providing that many links suggests that, well, maybe these links are coming from websites that have lots of links themselves, which dilute the quality. And in fact, as soon as we check the quality of some of these links, that's what we see. 1-4U computers, why have they got a link to your website? It might be that they're a customer and you did a link exchange. I don't know, but that needs looking into, because these low quality links can actually be negatively affecting your score. If we move down to traffic, now again, for privacy reasons, I have not hooked into your analytics, and happy to talk to you about that on a one-to-one. But from Alexa estimations, we've got that as very low. Not necessarily bad in itself, because you don't need to have a lot of customers coming along to your sort of niche website, but yeah, it is something we needs to be discussed. Social media, I did a quick search and I found a whole bunch of sort of different stuff. I couldn't really quickly confirm if you had like a really strong social media presence, and that's the problem, is because Google can't suss that out. If we can't suss that out with this scan, then you can't rely on the fact that Google's going to do that for you as well. So it's really, really important that these. But yeah, look, I would start with the high impact items, definitely, because obviously you're going to get more bang for your buck here. And if we look at the errors, meta description just needs to be put in. So easy to do. The URL resolve, you need to get your developer or your host to look at that. And structured data, those 3 things would probably take you up a surprising amount. And once you start getting, you get this score into like the 60s, that's when we can start looking at your content, getting that improved as well, refining some of your backlinks. But really, really got to get these key fundamental issues fixed. So yeah, so this one was a lot shorter review, mainly because there's more larger opportunities to be done. But yeah, that's all I have on that one.
Perfect. Well, I think that this was incredibly informative. I think, if I do say so myself, this is one of my favorite webinars that we've done, because the last 9 months now, or 8 months now, we've been giving you the tools that you need to understand the fundamentals, and then today we put it into practice. This is how you fix it. This is what needs to be fixed. Also, so Adam, if you want to stop sharing your screen, I'm going to go ahead and put our beautiful faces back on everybody's computer.
All right, 2 sets. I gotta click the right one.
And,
stop sharing.
Okay, all right. So hi, welcome back. My hair is a mess now. I don't know why. Anyway, yeah, like Adam said, this is all stuff that you can probably either tackle yourself, or you can talk to your developers to get that fixed. So I'm gonna do my quick little marketing plug again, my little marketing spiel. Everything that you saw today, you can very easily do with WooRank's help. I know that I've said it in the chat already, but we do offer a 14-day free trial. So if you're not already with us and you want to see what we can do for you and what we can identify on your website, then please head over to WooRank.com, sign up for a free trial, and then you get unfettered access to Adam and I, which, I mean, I'm big-headed, so I'm like, oh, that's the best thing ever in the world. But really what it is like we can actually help you navigate the review, identify those pain points so you can hit the ground running and really just optimize everything that you can possibly optimize. And you have 14 days to try it. There's no obligations there. You can just see if this is the right thing for you, if you're really ready to tackle a full SEO strategy like this. Now, as I said, great questions in the comments. You guys were super engaged. It was wonderful to see you asking each other questions, and I think I put my email address in there now 6 or 7 times. So if you have questions, please direct them right to me, because we're going to let Adam get back to his vacay now. And please enjoy the rest of your vacation. I'm going to try to answer everybody's questions and put them on the blog for Thursday. Thursday we'll be sending out a webinar recap for everybody that's on our mailing list. If you're not on our mailing list, I don't know how you're here, but if you're not, email me, Courtney@WooRank.com, and I'll add you. So thank you again, everyone. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for staying engaged, and most especially, thank you to Adam for giving us and me all of your very valuable knowledge. Thank you, everyone, welcome. And have a great rest of your vacation, Adam.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. See you next time. I don't even know how to end this. Oh, finish. Okay, bye for real now.